Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Pedro Silva.
I don't want to.
That's funny. That's funny.
I don't want to make you wrong, but my name is Pedro Silva II, so I'm not the one and only. So, but you know, somebody told me today something I haven't heard in a long time. They told me I have a Mexican name. You know what I mean? They said, I said, oh yeah, my name is Pedro, and she said, a Mexican name. You Mexican? And I had to stop for a second. I had a flashback when I was a little kid. When I first moved to my neighborhood in Norfolk, Virginia, that's what they asked me. So I moved to this neighborhood, and I grew up in, anybody familiar with Virginia? Okay, so I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, right? And if you look up Portsmouth now, it's nothing good. But when I first moved there, it was like, it's just black and white. Just black people and white people. And anybody that was not black or white was out on both sides. You know what I mean? So when I moved to my neighborhood, people asked me, they said, hey, what's your name, man? I said, I didn't even want to tell them because I knew it was coming. And they said, I said, Pedro. I said, Pedro? Pedro, you Mexican? I said, no, I'm not Mexican. They said, no, you Mexican. I said, no, I'm pretty sure I'm not Mexican. It's like, no. With a name like that, you're Mexican. And then when I started school, they said, hey man, look, there's a Mexican. And then everybody decided they were going to make a little song about me. And it was Pedro, go back to Mexico. Which is not cool. And they were like, Pedro, go back to Mexico. Pedro, go back to Mexico. So all of my life, I've had to struggle with my name. And I tried to figure out, like, what could I do? And I tried to have a bunch of different names. I tried to tell people, give me a nickname. Call me this, call me that. Never stuck. And I decided one day that my name was like the first lie my parents ever told me. And I was like, oh, your name is the first lie your parents ever told you. And I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but if you think about it, it's kind of true. Because you come into the world, you're born, somebody looks at you and they just throw a name at you. Now, what's your name?
Lee.
Lee. Do you feel like a Lee?
It
Do you though?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. You're not certain. You're not certain. Your parents looked at you. Are you named after somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay, who?
My grandpa, Leon.
Grandpa Leon. Okay. Now, do you know your Grandpa Leon?
No.
Okay. So they looked at you and they said, Grandpa Leon. And then they gave you that name. And they had an idea in their head of what that meant. And was it you? So, just to make you think, I'm one of those people that makes you think it's gonna come around. So I decided my parents were lying to me when they called me Pedro. So every time somebody called me Pedro, I would just kind of like ignore them and just be like, that's not my name. I don't know what my name is, but it's not that. And I would just kind of like, or I'd start letting people call me Pedro, whatever the case may be. But I struggled with this name. And then when I got to, until I was about, about 20 years old, I moved to Arizona, right? Where there were Mexicans. And I showed up with this exact same name. And people looked at me and they were like, Pedro, you're not Mexican. And I was like, yeah, I know. And so I had to deal with that.